"Professor, I want to apply to join the deep space program to help build the space station," Sincere Knight said calmly. Professor Walter Davies's voice came from the other end of the phone. "Sincere, have you thought this through? The deep space program requires 6 months of close training, followed by 3 years of rotational shifts working in space. Once you join, you'll basically be cut off from everyone for 3.5 years. Didn't you just propose to the woman you love? Think about it again." Sincere smiled bitterly. "Professor Davies, I've made up my mind. Please submit my application for me." After hanging up, he walked out of the monastery and saw, on the other side of the mountain peak, a group of hot air balloons rising gracefully. At the same time, a notification popped up on his phone. The engagement ceremony of Port City's heiress, Victoria Sterling, and young Master Thorne, Marcus Thorne, was underway. Victoria had launched 999 hot air balloons for Marcus, and the two were exchanging engagement rings in the largest, most luxurious balloon. Marcus held Victoria, weeping with joy. The beautiful couple embraced tenderly before the cameras, the sky full of hot air balloons broadcasting their love to every corner. Sincere's eyes couldn't help but moisten. Today was his birthday, yet Victoria, the woman he loved most, who had been like an older sister to him, was getting engaged to another man at the hot air balloon base he had helped her build. 3 months ago, when he had mustered the courage to propose to her, her eyes had clearly reflected longing and deep affection. But the next second she took a call, and everything changed. He didn't understand why, and now he no longer wanted to know. When he returned home, Victoria wasn't there. Sincere took out the cake he'd bought for himself, placed it on the table, blew out the candles, and ate it quietly. It wasn't until midnight that Victoria returned with Marcus in tow. She saw him and frowned. "Didn't I say I had something on today and you didn't need to wait up?" Sincere pressed his lips together and said softly, "I wasn't waiting for you. I was celebrating my birthday." Victoria froze, then said impatiently, "How old are you, still making a fuss about birthdays? I didn't get you a gift." But she used to say that every one of his birthdays was important, a testament to the years they had spent together. Now she begrudged him even a simple happy birthday. Sincere lowered his head. "It's okay, I got you something." He picked up a box and handed it to Victoria. An engagement gift. Marcus snatched it first. What a beautiful bracelet, so lustrous and smooth, clearly made from fine material. Victoria glanced at it. "If you like it, take it." No, Sincere said immediately. Those were beads he had spent 6 months painstakingly polishing, one by one. He had carried them up 1,000 steps to the monastery to have them blessed by a master, all to ensure Victoria's safety and well-being. Marcus glanced at Victoria and smirked. "I guess I'm not fortunate enough." He started to slide the bracelet off, then suddenly, his fingernail caught it with force. The precious white wood beads scattered, rolling across the floor with a clatter. Sincere stared blankly at the scattered beads, each sound tearing his heart to pieces. "Oh, I'm so sorry, I was too clumsy." Victoria took Marcus's hand, examining it carefully. "As long as you're not hurt." Turning to Sincere, her face was full of displeasure. "Sincere, it's just a bracelet. Marcus is your future brother-in-law. What's the big deal if he wears it?" "You're so small-minded." She took Marcus's arm and started to walk out. "Aren't you going to care about Sincere? Those beads are all over the floor. What if someone slips?" He brought it on himself. The door slammed shut forcefully. Sincere stood amidst the scattered beads, his heart completely cold. "This is the last gift I'll ever give you, Victoria." He knelt on the floor, searching for the beads all night. When he finally stood up, his back aching, he saw a confirmation letter from the Deep Space Program accepting his application. Outside, the world was white. The first snow of the year had arrived. Sincere's finger hovered over the confirmation button, hesitating. He still dialed Victoria's number. One last time. He would try one last time. Victoria's voice was heavy with sleep. "What do you want now?" Sincere looked at the plum blossoms outside the French windows. "Victoria, I'd like some plum blossom pastries. The plum tree in the yard had been planted specially for Sincere by Victoria. Every year on the first snow, Victoria would make a plate of plum blossom pastries, and they would admire the blossoms together. This was their tradition. Victoria was silent for a moment, then her voice was as cold as ice. Sincere, you're still so clueless. If I had known you'd pester me like this, I wouldn't have saved you back then. Those few words pierced Sincere's heart like 1,000 arrows. He wiped away a tear and pressed the confirmation button. At the same time, Marcus sent him an electronic invitation. The wedding date is set. Still haven't given up? A servant's son trying to cling to the master's family. Have some shame. Sincere pressed his lips together, lowered his eyes, and opened the invitation. The wedding was in 10 days, January 18th. He felt as if he'd been plunged into an ice cave. January 18th was the anniversary of his mother's death. Sincere's mother, Helen Knight, had given birth to him while working as a servant in the Sterling household. When he was 12, robbers broke into the Sterling home. His mother died from injuries sustained while protecting old Mrs. Quinn. Old Mrs. Quinn ordered the Sterling family to treat Sincere well, but as a servant's son, a love child with an unknown father, no one truly welcomed him. Only the Sterling's second daughter, Victoria Sterling, treated him exceptionally well. After his mother's death, Victoria, then 20, was moving out of the old family home to live independently, and she took him with her. He cried every night, devastated by his loss, and Victoria would patiently come to soothe him to sleep. He was extremely insecure, and she was always there for him, giving him a sense of security. When he missed his mother, her tech company made him a VR headset. Sincere, your mother hasn't left. She's just found a different way to be with you. When you miss her, put on the headset and see her. But remember, beyond the headset, Victoria is waiting for you. Victoria will always be with you. Sincere put on the headset, and his mother's image appeared before him, just like in the past, tidying the house around him, smiling gently at him. That became his long-lasting comfort and salvation. Later, his salvation became Victoria. He returned to his room. When he put on the headset again, it was Victoria's image that appeared. This was a model he had created 3 months ago, when his relationship with Victoria had taken a sharp downturn. The Victoria before him smiled gently, just like she used to. He reached out to touch her face, but only met empty air. The Victoria who loved him, who cherished him, was gone. In the afternoon, Sincere went to the Deep Space Program base for a physical examination. During the secondary confirmation, Professor Davies asked him if he had a spouse. If so, the spouse needed to sign a consent form. Sincere remembered his harshly rejected proposal and shook his head with difficulty. They gave him some documents to familiarize himself with at home. Stepping into the house, he found it brightly lit. Had Victoria returned? Sincere's heart stirred. The next second, Marcus Thorne appeared, dressed in loungewear. Sincere's back? He was full of enthusiasm, no trace of his earlier sarcasm. Come, sit down. Vicky's cooking. It'll be ready soon. He led Sincere to the dining table, acting like the man of the house. Sincere was about to say he wasn't hungry when he saw a pile of things at the door of the first-floor guest room. He froze, ran over, and rummaged through the haphazardly piled belongings, asking through gritted teeth, who did this. Marcus's smile didn't falter. Sincere, I'm sorry. Vicky asked me to pick a room to move into. I didn't know that was your room. You know, now move my things back and put them where they were with a clatter. Victoria slammed a serving dish onto the table. I had the room cleared out. She frowned at Sincere. Marcus is the man of the Sterling house. Given your status, it's not appropriate for you to live upstairs. Sincere froze, a sharp, lingering pain piercing his heart. She was looking down on him. Right. She was 30 now, the head of the Sterling family, and had a fiancé of suitable standing. It was time to draw a line with someone undignified like him. He said nothing and moved his things into the guest room himself. Marcus hypocritically called him to dinner, but Sincere ignored him. The two of them ate in the dining room, their flirting and laughter constantly reaching Sincere's ears. He clenched his jaw tightly and tidied up his things haphazardly. Anyway, he wouldn't be living here much longer. After some time, Victoria suddenly appeared at the door, looking down at him. "Where are your documents?" Sincere was taken aback. "What?" Her hawk-like eyes stared at him intently. "Your ID and passport. I couldn't find them. Sincere, don't play these little games with me. I'm determined to send you abroad." Sincere remained silent. 3 months ago, after he proposed, she had harshly rejected him and said she would send him abroad. He naturally refused, crying and making a scene. So now it was normal for her to suspect he had hidden his documents. Sincere took his ID and passport out of his bag and handed them to her. "I'm willing to go abroad." He would be leaving soon anyway and didn't want to argue with her anymore. Seeing his compliance, a flicker of surprise crossed Victoria's eyes. A strange surge of anger rose within her, and her hand snatched the documents with some force. Thud. Sincere's bag was pulled to the floor. The deep space program documents spilled out. Victoria's pupils contracted. She asked coldly, "What's this?" Sincere's heart leaped into his throat. He feigned composure. "I went to the Science Museum today. These are some brochures they were handing out." Victoria picked up the documents and flipped through them, her gaze stopping on the spaceflight page. As if remembering something, her expression grew darker. She raised her hand, tore the documents into shreds, and scattered them over Sincere. Wishful thinking, she stormed off, leaving Sincere standing there, the paper fragments fluttering down like snowflakes. So, she still remembered. After losing his mother, Sincere had been overcome with grief. Victoria often took him to the observatory at the Science Museum to look at the stars. She'd said, "When people leave us, they become stars in the sky, watching over those they care about." Sincere's mother is up there too. Sincere, grow up well and Victoria will definitely develop a spaceship for space travel and send Sincere to find his mom, okay? He had wrapped his arms around Victoria's neck and said softly, "Victoria, come too." Sincere doesn't want to be separated from Victoria. Victoria held him and cooed softly, "Okay, Victoria and Sincere will never be separated." He had always remembered their promise, which was why he majored in aerospace engineering in college. But she had broken her promise. That's why she was so angry when she thought he was using this to remind her. Sincere sighed bitterly and squatted down to pick up the shredded paper, piece by piece. In the middle of the night, Sincere woke up and went out to get a glass of water. He saw Victoria lying on the sofa, fully clothed, reeking of alcohol. Had she drunk too much with Marcus? Sincere looked around but didn't see Marcus. "Victoria, wake up, go to your room to sleep." She frowned and covered her eyes with her hand. He hesitated for a long moment, then helped Victoria up and towards her room. She was tall and leaned heavily on him, her fragrance filling his nostrils. Finally, he managed to get her onto the bed. Sincere, panting, was about to leave when his waist was suddenly gripped. In a flash, he was pinned beneath her. Victoria's eyes were hazy, unclear whether she was awake or drunk. Sincere froze in fright. Just as he was about to speak, she pressed down heavily, her lips firmly covering his. He was stunned for a moment, then immediately pushed her hard. "Victoria, it's me, you're drunk," she mumbled something, but he couldn't hear clearly, struggling with all his might. He finally pushed her away. She rolled over and fell asleep again. Sincere, gasping for breath, stood up and ran out. As he turned, he saw Marcus Thorne standing at the door, his expression dark. Panic seized him. Are you that shameless?" Marcus glared at him, his eyes filled with hatred and jealousy. "Vicky raised you for 10 years, she treated you like family, and you have the audacity to crawl into her bed." "Sincere, you," redisgusting Sincere said frantically. "I didn't." "It's not like that." Marcus advanced, his burning eyes like hellfire. "I suspected it all along. Your father is unknown. You're probably the spawn of some murderer or pervert. Sure enough, you harbor such disgusting thoughts about the elder who raised you." "Sincere, you really are a pervert." Sincere retreated step by step, biting his lip, silent. Was he really not normal? Was this why Victoria had pushed him away after learning his feelings? Marcus glanced at Victoria on the bed, a malicious smile playing on his lips. Is this what your despicable mother taught you? She's dead, and you inherited her seductive ways, flaunting yourself everywhere. If Vicky hadn't stopped you, you would have bedded Wendy Sterling from the second branch of the family when you were 12. Now you're grown up, and your appetite has grown too, targeting the head of the Sterling family. You and your mother are a pair of sluts. Shut up, I won't let you slander. My mother Sincere trembled with anger. Not only did Marcus insult his mother, but he also twisted the incident from his childhood, where he was almost molested by Wendy Sterling. He couldn't bear it anymore. He lunged forward to push Marcus away, but was slapped and forcefully shoved onto Victoria's bed. Then Marcus suddenly wiped the malicious sneer from his face, put on a tearful expression, and cried, "Sincere, how could you do this? Vicky is like a sister to you." Sincere froze. The mattress beneath him shifted. He looked back. Victoria sat up in bed, her right hand on her forehead. She opened her eyes, saw him, and frowned instantly. "What's going on? Why are you here?" Marcus sobbed. "I woke up in the middle of the night to get some water, and when I came back, I saw Sincere on the bed with you." "Vicky, don't blame him. He's still young. He doesn't know what he's doing." Victoria's brow furrowed tightly. She licked her dry lips and suddenly tasted peach-flavored lip balm. She looked at Sincere's moist lips and was instantly enraged. Her hand, like an iron clamp, gripped his arm. "How dare you do this? Are you insane?" she roared. Sincere's arm throbbed with pain. "I didn't. Marcus is lying to you. He insulted my mother." "Shut up," Victoria was furious. "You're shameless yourself, and you dare to slander others, and you use your mother as an excuse. Sincere, I've spoiled you too much. That's why you've become so lawless." She ruthlessly dragged Sincere off the bed, stumbling down the stairs, and threw him out the main door. "You stay outside and reflect on your actions. You can come in when you realize you were wrong." "No, Victoria, I didn't." The main door slammed shut. Sincere cried, pounding on the door. "Victoria, open the door. I'm scared," he shouted until his voice was hoarse, but there was no sound from inside. Suddenly a clap of thunder, and lightning split the sky. Sincere flinched violently, pulling his thin pajamas tighter around himself, shivering as he hugged his knees. He was terrified of thunder. It had been thundering and lightning just like this when that woman Wendy had burst into his room. Victoria had arrived just in time to save him and had sent Wendy to prison. For 10 years, whenever there was a thunderstorm, Victoria would rush back to be with him, even if she was out of town. But today, for another man, she had personally pushed him into the storm. So she truly regretted it. She shouldn't have saved him. She really didn't care about him at all anymore. The icy rain pierced his body like needles. He was in pain and cold, his consciousness gradually fading as he sank into darkness. When he woke up again, he was in a warm bed, his head groggy, his body aching. Marcus's voice was by his ear. "It's all my fault. I made Sincere sick. Vicky, with Sincere like this, let's not make him move out for now." Victoria was silent for a moment, then said, "All right, we'll talk about it when he's better. I'm sorry you had to go through this. I'm not upset. Sincere is your family, so he's my family too." A rustling sound, and the people in the room left. But Marcus was still there. His sharp fingernails lightly grazed Sincere's neck, his voice chilling. "Little swine, you've got quite a few tricks up your sleeve. All my good acting wasted. Don't think feigning illness will let you stay here. I made Vicky kick you out once. I can make her do it again." Sincere smiled bitterly to himself. He wouldn't need to kick him out. He would be gone soon enough. After Marcus left, Sincere took out his phone and saw a notification from the Deep Space program. His physical examination was passed. The reporting date was January 18th, exactly Victoria's wedding day, and the anniversary of his mother's death. A sharp pain seized his heart. It seemed he wouldn't be able to attend her wedding. Just as well. She was utterly disgusted with him. His presence would only be an eyesore. In 8 days he would quietly disappear from everyone's world. The next day, Sincere, having regained some strength, was brought before Victoria. Marcus was feeding her a custard bun, her eyes full of indulgence and affection. A pang of pain shot through Sincere's heart, and he lowered his head. When Victoria saw him, her face darkened. She asked coldly, "Have you learned your lesson?" Sincere clenched his fists, his voice hoarse. Yes. He was wrong. He shouldn't have relied on her, shouldn't have fallen in love with her, shouldn't have seen her as his only salvation. Victoria got the answer she wanted, but she felt no joy. He stood there, eyes downcast and indifferent, a stark contrast to the boy whose eyes used to be filled only with her. Anger flared in Victoria. Casting aside the momentary softness she'd felt yesterday, she said coldly, "Move out in the next 2 days." Sincere looked up, the corners of his eyes slightly red, biting his lip without speaking. Was she really going to kick him out? 10 years ago she had personally brought him here, telling him this was his home. Now she was going to throw him out of his home? Despite the grievance and indignation, her image was finally reflected in those bright eyes again. Victoria felt the knot in her chest loosen, but she still had to teach him a lesson. Marcus is magnanimous and won't hold it against you, but that doesn't mean he doesn't care. Sincere, after doing something so shameless, it's not appropriate for you to live here anymore. Shameless. Is that how she saw him? Looking at Marcus's triumphant gaze, Sincere's heart turned icy. Fine, I understand. His obedience inexplicably pricked her heart with pain. She waved her hand irritably. Sincere's steps were unsteady as he turned and walked away. Victoria watched his retreating back, a wave of emptiness washing over her. It felt as if something important was slipping through her fingers. She shook her head. No, Sincere had nothing, only her. He couldn't go anywhere but by her side. About sending him abroad, I want to put it on hold for now. Marcus was stunned. Victoria continued, "He's too willful. I'm afraid he'll cause trouble if he goes abroad, and I won't be able to get there quickly. It's better to let him stay here and mature a bit first." Marcus lowered his eyes and said meekly, "All right." He caught a glimpse of Victoria staring at Sincere's retreating figure with a lost expression, and a sinister glint flashed in his eyes. Sincere went to the Deep Space Program base again. Professor Davies said, "There are 2 sites for the closed training. One in a remote desert in the southwest, and one in a high-altitude mountain range in the Himalayas. You can choose one. You're a volunteer. I suggest you choose the desert facility. The Himalayan base is at high altitude. Training while battling altitude sickness is extremely tough. Usually only professionals train there." Sincere thought for a moment and said, "I choose the Himalayas." Professor Davies was somewhat surprised. Why? Sincere was silent. Because Victoria suffered from irregular angina and couldn't go to high altitudes, and also because the Himalayas were the closest place to the sky. He wanted to be closer to his mother. After confirming his training location, Sincere left. He wanted to visit his mother's grave one last time. Just as he got out of the car, he was surrounded by several burly men. Sincere looked at them warily, secretly dialing emergency services from his bag. "Who are you? What do you want?" The leader, a man with bleached blonde hair, Blondie, sneered, "Young man, instead of learning good things, you seduce other people's fiancés. I'm just here to teach you a lesson on behalf of justice." Sincere was shocked. Marcus Thorne sent you. Seeing the men lunge at him, he turned and ran desperately. "Help me, Victoria!" Suddenly, a sharp pain shot through the back of his head and he fell to the ground unconscious. From the connected phone, Victoria's furious roar could be heard. "Sincere, don't you touch him. I'll give you any amount of money." The next second, the call was disconnected. When Sincere regained consciousness, the back of his head was still throbbing. The wind was bitingly cold. He was tied to a tree. Just as he was about to call for help, he heard a familiar voice from ahead. Sincere it was. Victoria. Sincere was overjoyed. Just as he was about to respond, a cold, sharp object pressed against his throat. Blondie chuckled behind him. "Don't get too happy. Do you really think she's here to save you? Otherwise." Before Sincere could understand what he meant, Victoria arrived with her people. She was sweating profusely, her breathing ragged. The moment she saw he was safe, her racing heart finally calmed. "Sincere, are you okay? I'll save you right now." The moment she saw Blondie, she suddenly froze. The anxious look on her face slowly faded, replaced by a gathering storm of anger in her eyes. "Save me, Vicky." A muffled voice came from a sack on the ground. A kidnapper untied the sack and pulled out a man. It was Marcus Thorne. He had clearly suffered. His hair was disheveled, his face red and swollen, and his body was covered in large bruises. Sincere was stunned. What was going on? Weren't these men hired by Marcus to kidnap him? How did Marcus end up kidnapped too? Blondie laughed heartily. "On one hand, the little lover you've kept for 10 years. On the other, your fiancé. Second, Miss Sterling, you can only take one. Who do you choose?" Sincere's heart tightened. He stared intently at Victoria. Marcus, trying to suppress his trembling, said, "Vicky, save Sincere first. I'm from the Thorne family. They wouldn't dare." A kidnapper punched him, sending his head snapping to the side. "Young punk, who said we wouldn't dare stop?" Victoria's eyes blazed with anger. Without even glancing at Sincere, she commanded, "Bring Marcus Thorne to me," Blondie sneered, then said to the ice-cold Sincere, "Looks like your sugar mommy doesn't care much about you." Then he shouted, $5 million, Victoria, without batting an eye, threw over a travel bag. After the kidnappers checked it and confirmed the amount, they pushed Marcus towards her. She helped him up and turned to leave. Sincere couldn't hold back anymore and cried out, "Victoria, don't leave me. They were all hired by Marcus. Don't be fooled by him." Victoria's steps faltered. Blondie let out a loud laugh. Well, Mr. Thorne, looks like your little lover is breaking down. This young punk is so delicate. Are you sure you want to abandon him? Fine, I'll do you a favor. $10 million and you can take this kid." Sincere held his breath, looking at Victoria with hope, but she didn't even turn her head. "Do whatever you want with him," she said coldly. Then she strode away. Marcus looked back, a triumphant sneer on his face. Sincere felt as if he had been frozen into a thin sheet of ice, so fragile that a mere touch would shatter him into powder. Did she hate him that much? Hate him enough to leave him to vicious criminals just to be rid of him? Blondie dragged him deeper into the mountains. He was like a broken doll, numbly staring at the starry sky above. "It's better this way," he thought. "I can see Mom sooner." After all, there was no one left in this world who loved him. The kidnappers left Sincere for dead in the mountains and departed with the money. Sincere navigated by the stars, dragging his exhausted body, step by step, out of the wilderness. It was over 20 kilometers from the mountains to his home. He walked all night. When he pushed open the door to his house, he was utterly drained, cold, and in pain. He collapsed to the floor. Water. A pair of hands lifted him up and roughly dragged him to the sofa. "Look what you've done." Marcus's arms and legs were bandaged, his swollen face treated with medicine. He looked utterly miserable. Victoria's eyes blazed with fury. "Sincere, I thought you were just willful, but I never imagined you'd be audacious enough to stage a kidnapping." Sincere was bewildered. What did she mean? Did she think he had orchestrated this himself? Marcus said softly, "Vicky, Sincere just cares about you too much. He's still young, don't be angry." "I'm fine, see? You call this fine? You've been coddled since you were a child, never even scraped your knee. Now you're so badly injured, all because he's so thoughtless." Sincere stared blankly at the enraged Victoria. "Victoria, I'm injured too." He had walked for over 10 hours. His body was scratched by branches, and his legs were raw and bleeding from countless falls. His pants stuck to his wounds. But Victoria just looked at him coldly. "How can you compare yourself to Marcus?" Her words stabbed him, and he flinched. But she wouldn't let him off. "Stop pretending. You know very well who that so-called kidnapper was. Did you think this would break Marcus and me up, that I'd agree to be with you? Sincere, I'm not a fool. I didn't—" "It's not what you think." Sincere vehemently denied it, but Victoria wouldn't listen, pressing on relentlessly. "You were almost assaulted when you were 12, and you've been wary of strange women ever since. Now, to frame Marcus for kidnapping you, you're even willing to exploit your own scars. Was this the kind of person she thought he was? Tears streamed down his face uncontrollably. Sincere weakly tried to defend himself. I really didn't. Victoria's eyes were full of disappointment. Sincere, how could you become like this? In that instant, he felt as if his heart was being twisted by a knife. He opened his mouth to explain, then lowered his head in dejection. No matter what he said, she wouldn't believe him. This appearance in Victoria's eyes was a sign of guilt. Her anger flared, and she roughly pushed him in front of Marcus. Apologized to Marcus. Sincere looked up, his gaze meeting Marcus's triumphant one. He pressed his lips tightly and turned his face away. It wasn't his fault. He wouldn't apologize, Marcus said softly. It's okay. We're family. I won't blame Sincere. Victoria closed her eyes, her tone filled with utter disappointment. Incorrigible, you're going to America tomorrow, and you're not to come back without my permission. Sincere's head snapped up. I'm not going. He had to report to the Deep Space Program base in 6 days. He couldn't be sent to America. Victoria looked at him coldly. I've spoiled you. With your temperament, you should have been thrown out to suffer a long time ago. I've already booked your flight. You're going whether you like it or not. Sincere pressed his lips together tightly, meeting her cold gaze. She no longer cherished him, no longer believed him, no longer felt soft towards him. Her tenderness was now reserved for another, so now only another man could persuade her. He took a deep breath, turned to Marcus's smug face, and with great difficulty lowered his head. It was my fault. I'm sorry, brother-in-law. Victoria narrowed her eyes, thinking she had misheard. Brother-in-law? Sincere never called him brother-in-law. Marcus was also somewhat surprised. Then a gleeful smile spread across his face. He patted Sincere's shoulder. Of course, your brother-in-law won't hold it against you. Then can my brother-in-law let me stay? Marcus's gaze sharpened. Sincere, swallowing his humiliation, pleaded through gritted teeth, at least, let me stay for the wedding before I go. Victoria is the only family I have left. I don't want to miss her wedding. Marcus's eyes darted around. He chuckled and put his arm around Victoria's shoulder. All right. Let Sincere witness our marriage. Then he won't have any more foolish ideas. Victoria looked at Sincere's bowed, submissive form, and an indescribable restlessness welled up in her. She should be satisfied, but hearing Sincere call Marcus brother-in-law left a bitter taste in her mouth. Marcus squeezed her hand. She snorted coldly. Since Marcus has spoken, you can stay for the wedding. After the wedding, you leave for America immediately, not a day longer. Sincere nodded silently. He promised. He wouldn't stay a moment longer. He had had enough, too. Marcus's injuries weren't serious. The next day, he and Victoria were out and about, full of life. They didn't return home again, joyfully preparing for the wedding together. Sincere, on the other hand, covered in injuries, meticulously erased every trace of himself from the house. Marcus sent pictures of their wedding attire. Sincere packed up all the clothes Victoria had given him and gave them away. Marcus sent pictures of their wedding rings. Sincere donated all the accessories Victoria had given him to charity. Marcus sent pictures of the wedding flower conservatory Victoria had arranged for him. Sincere uprooted all the roses Victoria had planted for him in the courtyard. By the wedding day, there was almost no trace of Sincere left in the house. Marcus had returned to the Thorne family home yesterday to prepare for the wedding procession. Victoria also returned to the villa alone late at night. Sincere and Victoria hadn't spoken for days, but this was the last day. After today, perhaps they would never see each other again. Sincere mustered his courage and pushed open Victoria's bedroom door. Victoria, are you still not going to talk to me? He looked down, his eyelashes like raven feathers casting a shadow, hiding the sorrow in his eyes. Seeing his haggard appearance, Victoria softened a little, but her voice remained hard. Have you given up? He nodded. I've given up. Repeated heartbreak and disappointment had long since killed the fantasies in his heart. Victoria looked at the redness at the corners of his eyes, not quite believing him, and warned, Today is Marcus's and my big day. Don't even think about pulling any stunts. No matter what you do, I will only marry Marcus." Sincere kept his head down, his voice calm. "I won't. Don't worry, I'll never bother you again." Seeing his calm and resolute demeanor, Victoria's heart felt as if it were squeezed by a large hand, sore, swollen, and inexplicably flustered. In the silence, Sincere suddenly said, "Victoria, come with me to see Mom one last time." Victoria was silent for a moment, then agreed. The two of them took offerings and got into the car, not speaking a word the entire way. As they neared the cemetery, Victoria's phone suddenly rang. "Vicky, there are some wedding details that need rehearsing. Come quickly." Sincere turned to look at her. "Victoria, we're almost there. Just a little while. 10 minutes maybe." He just wanted her to see his mother, to put his mother's mind at ease. Victoria hesitated for a moment, then opened the car door beside him. "You go ahead. I'll come another day." A sharp pain pierced Sincere's heart. He lowered his head, got out of the car, and trudged forward. Victoria watched his retreating back, a sudden panic in her heart. Sincere, he turned back. She instructed softly, "Come to the wedding early." In silence, the car drove away. He placed his mother's favorite begonia pastries, lemon tea, and vibrant corn poppies in front of the tombstone. Sincere rubbed his face, forcing a light smile. "Mom, I'm doing very well. I've joined the deep space program. If all goes well, I'll be on a spaceship traveling the universe next year. I don't know which star you are. When the time comes, if you wink at me, I'll come find you, okay? Victoria is getting married today, so she couldn't make it. I'm not sad, Mom. She's taken care of me for 10 years. It was wrong of me to greedily want her for a lifetime. I understand now. No one is obligated to stay by my side forever. Even you, Mom, only walked with me for a part of the journey. From now on, I'll walk my own path." Sunlight broke through the clouds. The sound of church bells echoed from afar. Sincere looked towards the distance in a daze. The wedding had begun. On the red carpet, Marcus Thorne, dressed in his wedding suit, walked step by step towards the woman he had loved for many years. Victoria, however, seemed distracted. As the tall, handsome groom approached her side, she found herself wondering, why hadn't Sincere arrived yet? At that moment, Sincere gave a final kiss to his mother's photograph on the tombstone and got into a car heading for the airport. The scenery outside the window flew by, and scenes from his past with Victoria flashed before his eyes like a revolving lantern. In the church, the priest solemnly asked, "Whether he is rich or poor, in sickness or in health, will you take him as your husband?" Victoria remained silent for a long time. Marcus called her name anxiously. "Vicky." Victoria couldn't hear him, looking around everywhere. It felt as if there was a hole in her heart, and her entire being was slowly draining away. Where was Sincere? Why couldn't she find him anywhere? In the car, Sincere took out his phone, pinched the SIM card, and held it out the window, letting it be carried away by the wind. From now on, all past events would fade away with the wind. Victoria, on the high platform, seemed to sense something. She suddenly pulled her hand away from the groom, jumped off the stage, and abandoning everyone, rushed to her car. Sincere wasn't there. She had to find Sincere. Sincere's car suddenly braked hard. He lurched forward, and the bracelet he had prayed over to keep Victoria safe slipped from his wrist. The driver apologized profusely. He waved his hand and bent down to pick it up. Because of this, he didn't see a familiar Maybach pass by him, heading in the opposite direction, speeding away. That 1 meter distance between their cars would be the closest they would ever be in this lifetime. At the entrance of the base's spacecraft module, Sincere looked back one last time, closing his eyes under the warm winter sun. "Victoria, happy wedding. Goodbye." Victoria bit her lip tightly, driving at breakneck speed. Her phone kept ringing. Both the Thorne and Sterling families were calling her, but she ignored them all. Sincere was probably just throwing another tantrum. She hadn't stayed to visit his mother with him, so he was angry and wouldn't come to her wedding. He didn't even consider how uncomfortable the Thorne family would feel knowing he went to a cemetery on a day like this. Once Marcus moved in, he would inevitably help manage Sincere's affairs. If he offended Marcus like this, and Marcus deliberately neglected him later, and she was too busy to oversee everything, wouldn't he be the one to suffer? He was still too young, too willful. She had been trying to help him maintain a good relationship with Marcus, but he didn't understand her efforts at all. Arriving at the cemetery, she got out of the car and hurried to Helen Knight's tombstone. It was empty. Begonia pastries, lemon tea, corn poppies, all neatly arranged before the grave, childishly transforming the solemn act of remembrance into a tea party, yet adding a touch of warmth and intimacy. Paying respects to his mother was never a somber affair for him, but a child's longing and dependence. Victoria had accompanied Sincere here for 9 years. This was her first time coming alone. She felt a little unnerved. She took out the incense, paper money, and chrysanthemums she had prepared a few days earlier from the trunk and respectfully placed them before the tombstone. Squatting down to wipe the dust off the tombstone, she said softly, "Aunt Helen, it's my fault. I've wronged Sincere. Don't worry, no matter what happens, I will take care of Sincere for the rest of his life." She stood up and dialed Sincere's number as she walked out. No answer. Her brows furrowed, and she sped back to the villa. Just as she entered, a warm body hugged her tightly. She instinctively thought it was Sincere and reached out to catch him. "Vicky, how could you leave me?" A tearful voice reached her ears. The person in front of her was wearing a wedding suit, his eyes red. It was Marcus. Victoria's face hardened, and she pushed him away. "Who let you come here?" She walked straight into the house. Because of her wedding, the house was filled with decorations, ribbons, balloons, large red double happiness characters, making it look very festive. But the emptiness of the house made it impossible to feel any joy. Marcus followed her, sobbing and trying to persuade her. "Vicky, Sincere isn't here. I know he doesn't like me, but how could he run away from home on our wedding day? You left me alone at the altar. Everyone was laughing at me. Too noisy." Victoria clenched her fists, her lips pressed together, searching floor by floor. "Sincere, stop throwing a tantrum. You're grown up now. Can't you be a little more sensible? I even abandoned my wedding for you now. There's a huge mess. Can you just behave?" Nothing. He was nowhere. She stood before the second-floor French window, looked up, and her breath caught. All the roses in the courtyard were gone, leaving only bare earth, like an open wound, starkly exposed in their home. Panic slowly began to spread within her. Victoria forcefully pushed open Sincere's bedroom door. It was empty. The clothes and shoes that had been moved down and left in a messy pile were gone. The computer on the desk was gone. The accessory box in the cabinet was gone. The entire room was as neat as a model home, without even a single strand of Sincere's hair left behind. She sat on the bed, gripping the edge so tightly it felt as if a hand was also gripping her heart, squeezing it until it ached. She took a deep breath and called her assistant. Find out what Sincere has been up to lately, and track his phone's location. An empty chill seeped into her every pore. She felt cold to the bone, inside and out. Outside the door, Marcus clenched his fists in resentment, a flash of hatred in his eyes. That pretty boy, even after leaving, he still had Vicky all worked up. No, today's wedding must be completed, otherwise, how could he ever show his face in Port City again? Lifting his head, he put on a wronged expression again and shuffled to sit at Victoria's feet. Marcus always knew how to make women feel sorry for him. He rested his pale face on her knee, looking up at her weakly. "Vicky, Sincere is just throwing a tantrum and hiding somewhere. He's a grown man, he'll be fine. Let's go finish the wedding first, okay? After the wedding, I'll help you look for him." With both the Thorne and Sterling families searching, how could we not find one person? Victoria was growing impatient when her phone rang, interrupting him. She shrugged off his hand that had stealthily crept onto hers and quickly answered the phone. "Did you find anything?" "CEO Sterling, Mr. Knight sold many clothes and shoes on a second-hand website a couple of days ago. They looked like things he usually wore. Also, his friends said he suddenly met up with them and gave them a lot of tie clips and cufflinks. I checked. They were all gifts you've given him over the years. Victoria's heart sank with every word. So Sincere had been planning to run away from home all along. Her face darkened as if it were about to drip water. She tried her best to control herself and asked through gritted teeth, "What else? Where is his phone located?" Checking. "Found it at Port City General Hospital. Victoria froze abruptly. All the anxiety, anger, and gloominess were put on pause. Only panic spread rapidly. Thinking Sincere might have had an accident, she couldn't care about anything else and rushed out. Marcus lunged forward and grabbed her waist, pleading desperately, "Vicky, please, come back with me and finish the wedding, otherwise I'll really become the laughingstock of the entire city. It will also affect the relationship between our two families." Victoria's face turned cold. She violently shook off his arm. Marcus stumbled and fell to the ground. She looked down at him, her eyes full of disdain. "You should understand one thing. The Thorne family is not yet qualified to discuss relationships with the Sterling family. I brought you in to act out this wedding charade because you were obedient and easy to control. Marcus, you should know, without Sincere you are nothing to me." She left without a shred of mercy. Marcus sat on the floor, almost grinding his teeth to dust. Sincere Knight, he had truly underestimated that young punk. He wouldn't give up. Victoria couldn't just dump him like this. Victoria rushed to the hospital, only to find her assistant standing there, head bowed, afraid to speak. Her brow twitched. She asked in a low voice, "Where is he?" The assistant wiped the sweat from her forehead and held out a hand. A SIM card lay in her palm. "Mr. Knight isn't here. His SIM card was stuck to the tire of a car and was brought here. Presumably he threw the card away." The assistant squeezed her eyes shut, bracing for Victoria's wrath. A vein throbbed in Victoria's temple. She was clearly on the verge of an explosion. But she managed to hold it in and took the SIM card. She had to admit, Sincere wasn't just throwing a tantrum this time. He really wanted to leave her. Was he that wronged? Enough to discard their 10-year bond, to discard her who had cherished and loved him like a sister? Had she gone too far? But this was the only way. If she let their feelings continue, it would lead to a terrible mistake. Victoria's fingers trembled slightly as she picked up the dusty SIM card and inserted it into her own phone. The card wasn't damaged. Countless messages flooded her phone. Hundreds of missed calls, all from the Sterling family looking for him. Hundreds of unread messages, also all saying he was being thoughtless and telling him to come back quickly. Victoria quickly scrolled through them, feeling increasingly uncomfortable. He was hers to guide, who were others to reprimand him. Scrolling further up, her gaze stopped. It was Marcus. He had sent Sincere hundreds of messages. Were they that close? She opened Marcus's messages and froze instantly. "Little punk, look at my wedding ring. This is the biggest pigeon blood ruby in the world. I am the master of the Sterling house, you little punk. Get your ass out of the country, or else you'll see what happens after I'm married. Heard you had your eye on this suit before? Not bad taste. But a bastard like you, how dare you propose to Vicky? Aren't you disgusted with yourself? Look closely, this is my suit now. Sad? This is the difference between the master and a servant. As long as I ask, Vicky will give me anything. Ran into Wendy Sterling yesterday. It's been 10 years and she's still thinking about you. A pretty boy's a pretty boy. Vicky doesn't want you anymore. Why don't you go look for Wendy? You're best at leeching off women anyway. She's got a dozen lovers. One more like you won't matter." Victoria's breathing grew heavier, her jaw clenched tighter and tighter, until finally she slammed her fist onto the car in uncontrollable rage. Marcus Thorne. How dare he? He had pretended to be so obedient and sensible, swearing to heaven that he would treat Sincere like his own brother. But behind her back, this was his true face. He was tired of living. Victoria coldly instructed her assistant, issue a public announcement, terminate the engagement with the Thorne family. The assistant was stunned. CEO Sterling. Now the assistant didn't dare ask further and made the call. Victoria continued to scroll through the phone, finding Sincere's chat history with Professor Walter Davies. The words Deep Space Program caught her eye. She remembered the document she had seen in Sincere's room, and her mind went blank for a moment. Space flight. Sincere was going to leave Earth? Victoria didn't have time to think. She dialed Professor Davies's number. Professor Davies had taught Sincere for 4 years and had heard about Victoria, this sister figure, and also knew of his students' feelings. For Sincere to join the Deep Space Program so decisively, something must have happened between him and this woman. He didn't want to say much to Victoria, but Victoria was very sincere, saying Sincere had left without a word, and his family was very worried, hoping at least to see him. Professor Davies was somewhat moved, and also worried that Sincere, being young and impulsive, might regret his decision. So he gave Victoria the base's address, but he made it very clear whether they met or not was up to Sincere himself. At this moment, Sincere had just finished a briefing at the base with fellow volunteers and was about to enter a simulated spacecraft for a flight experience. Professor Davies suddenly called, informing him that Victoria had arrived. He was somewhat surprised. Wasn't Victoria getting married? How could she be here? After a long silence, he said firmly, "Professor, I don't want to see her. Please don't let her in." Unexpectedly, Victoria snatched the phone and said urgently, "Sincere, don't come back with me. We need to talk properly. Tell me whatever dissatisfaction or grievances you have, I can solve them all." Sincere lowered his head and smiled bitterly. If she had said this to him just a day earlier, he wouldn't have believed how happy he would be. Unfortunately, it was too late. His heart was already dead. Sincere shook his head gently. "Victoria, I don't need you to do anything for me. I'm grown up now. I should be independent. Thank you for raising me. You should live your own life too. I haven't said it yet, but happy wedding." Hearing his words, which sounded like a farewell, Victoria could no longer contain her panic. "No, I didn't get married. It was my fault. I didn't realize sooner that Marcus was bad to you. Sincere, come back, be with me. Didn't you say you wanted to be with me forever and never be separated?" Sincere's nose tingled. So she remembered everything. But she still pushed him away. He no longer believed it, nor did he need it. "Victoria, those were just childish words from long ago. Let's forget them." "No, they weren't childish words, we promised," Victoria shouted into the phone, distraught, but Sincere had already hung up. She asked Professor Davies with red eyes, "Where on earth is Sincere?" Professor Davies sighed. "It's too late." Victoria's eyes instantly turned crimson. Professor Davies, feeling for his student, couldn't help but complain, "What were you doing before I heard Sincere propose to you 3 months ago and was rejected? If you had accepted him then, you could have withdrawn his application once as his spouse you yourself gave up the chance to be part of his life." Every word struck Victoria's heart. A pain shot through her chest and she staggered back 2 steps. Her Sincere, who had once longed so much to spend his life with her, it was her who had personally pushed him away. Just then, an announcement came over the intercom. "The spacecraft module is now open. All volunteers, please enter in an orderly manner." Volunteers. Victoria looked up sharply, recalling the vast expanse of spacecraft modules she had passed on her way in. She turned and ran back frantically. "Sincere, don't go. I'm here to get you." She pushed herself forward with all her might, every muscle in her body working at high speed, her heart feeling like it would explode under the overload. But the base gate closed slowly, inch by inch, in front of her. Inside, before a neat row of spacecraft modules, she spotted Sincere's tall, straight back at a glance. Sincere, she rushed to the gate, pounding on it with all her strength, but the bulletproof glass didn't budge. Victoria looked at Sincere inside, about to enter the module, her eyes wide with desperation. He seemed to hear something and slowly turned around. A sliver of hope rose in Victoria's heart. She screamed at the top of her lungs, "Sincere, come back quickly," but Sincere merely looked up at the sunlight behind him, then turned and walked into the dark hatch without a backward glance. The hatch closed, cutting off Victoria's view. She heard the massive engines shake the earth, dust and smoke rising to obscure her vision. When everything settled, there was nothing before her eyes. The person who had been rooted in her heart for 10 years, who had long since grown into her flesh and blood, was gone. Her heart suddenly clenched in agony, as if a piece had been brutally torn away. Victoria clutched her chest, her body convulsing as she collapsed, losing consciousness. When she opened her eyes again, it was night. Victoria lay in a hospital bed. Opposite her sat Alistair Sterling, her adoptive father. Alistair looked stern, his voice authoritative. "Look at the mess you've made, running away from your wedding in public, and then unilaterally announcing the annulment of the engagement. Do you have any idea how much this will impact the Sterling family?" Victoria was distracted. "Impact what? The Thorne family is nothing to fear. The Thornes indeed aren't much, but your breaking your word like this will make outsiders think you lack decorum, damaging the Sterling family's reputation." Victoria sat up and massaged her temples. "I know. I'll make the Thorne family take the blame. No one will say anything." Alistair snorted coldly. "You're willing to go this far for him. Don't you forget Sincere Knight's status." Victoria froze, pressing her lips together, silent. Yes, she and Sincere could not be together as lovers. Ever since Sincere's mother died 10 years ago, he had been despondent, believing he had no family left in the world. Victoria couldn't bear to see him like that, so she secretly began to investigate his father. But it was too long ago, and there had been no progress. Until 3 months ago, when Sincere proposed to her. Evan knew how happy she was. That foolish boy had prepared everything behind her back, wanting to marry her with such desperate courage. They had long understood each other's hearts. It was just that he had only recently graduated. She had wanted him to enjoy a few more years of freedom, but he was so impatient. Just as Victoria was about to accept, she received that call. Her assistant told her that Sincere's father was her cousin, Charles Sterling. She and Sincere were blood-related aunt and nephew. Her mind had gone completely blank then, utterly lost. She knew they had made a terrible mistake. This relationship absolutely could not continue, so she painfully rejected Sincere and quickly got engaged to Marcus Thorne. As Sincere grew older, rumors and speculations about them had increased. She had to distance herself from Sincere as quickly as possible. Otherwise, if news of his true parentage got out, the ensuing scandal would crush him. Marriage was the best way. But Sincere was too stubborn. He refused to believe she had changed her heart. She had to harden her heart and push him away, hurt him again and again. Now, he was really gone, and she wasn't happy at all. Alistair saw her dazed look and warned her sternly, "That brat leaving is the best outcome. You are forbidden to look for him again. Get married and have a child as soon as possible. Don't let outsiders gossip about your relationship anymore." He said earnestly, "Vicky, the Chin Corporation has a 100-year legacy. It cannot be tainted with such filth." Alistair Sterling left. Victoria tossed and turned, unable to sleep. Thinking of Sincere's resolute back as he left, her heart felt as if it were being sliced, piece by piece. She couldn't be separated from him. Even when she decided to draw a line with him, even when she planned to send him abroad, she had never truly thought of being apart from him. Even if they couldn't be husband and wife, she wanted to protect him for a lifetime. She would arrange the best life for him, let him live happily for a lifetime in a place under her control. But he had escaped her control, flying far away to the stars. She couldn't accept it, and she would never let go, no matter where he was, in heaven or on earth. She would bring him home in the latter half of the night. Victoria finally drifted into a hazy sleep. In her dream, Sincere and she were back to their most intimate moments. She wasn't fully awake, and he playfully brushed her eyelashes. She grabbed his hand and buried herself in his embrace. "Stop messing around, Sincere." Suddenly, a strong scent of cologne assaulted her nostrils. Victoria's eyes snapped open. There really was a man on top of her. Victoria froze for only a second before forcefully shoving the person off her. "Marcus Thorne, are you looking to die?" Marcus fell to the floor with a painful cry, his eyes red as he looked at Victoria. "Vicky, Dad said you were sick. I came to see you. How are you? Does it still hurt?" Victoria thought of those messages on Sincere's phone, and her disgust for this man became irrepressible. "Still daring to pester me." "Marcus, do you really think I don't know what you've done?" Marcus's expression stiffened. What did she know? But then he thought, Sincere wasn't even here. As long as he denied it to the death, what could Victoria do? So he feigned composure and said, "What are you talking about? I haven't done anything." "Vicky, why did you suddenly want to call off the engagement? Did Sincere say something to you? You know he's never liked me. His words are childish and can't be taken seriously." Victoria didn't want to waste words on him. She directly showed him the chat log between him and Sincere. He was shocked, staring at the phone for a long time, then said sharply, "It's fake. How could I say such things, Vicky? Believe me, I didn't say that. How could Sincere use fake chat logs to frame me?" Victoria almost laughed at his shamelessness. "Are you saying I should go pull your communication records now?" "No," Marcus shook his head desperately. Seeing he couldn't hide it anymore, he lunged forward and hugged her legs, crying, I didn't mean to, Vicky. Sincere never accepted me. I just cared about you too much. I wanted to marry you so badly." Victoria gripped his chin and lifted his face, her expression cold. "Go back and tell your dad, Arthur Thorne, that the Sterling family is not going through with this marriage, and the fault lies with you, Marcus Thorne. Your Thorne family must publicly admit within today that the annulment was your fault and issue a public apology. If I hear even a whisper of gossip about the Sterling family, the Thorne family can forget about getting another project in Port City ever again." Marcus looked at Victoria in terror. "No, Dad will kill me, Vicky. Please don't abandon me. I'll never dare again. I'll help you find Sincere. I'll kowtow to him and apologize. Please don't call off the engagement, okay?" Victoria smiled sarcastically. "Don't worry, I'll make sure Arthur leaves you with a breath. When Sincere comes back, I'll let you kowtow to your heart's content." Marcus was thrown out of the hospital room before he could say another word. He wiped away his tears, his heart filled with resentment and hatred for Sincere. He was just one step away from marrying Victoria. It was all that pretty boy's fault. If he found out where that pretty boy was, he'd sell him to a brothel, let him seduce women. Then he was storming towards the elevator when a pair of hands suddenly dragged him into the stairwell. "Young punk, where's the money?" Marcus was slapped across the face. He looked closely and saw Blondie, the man who had kidnapped him and Sincere a few days ago. He paled. "What are you doing here?" Blondie spat. "You think I want to be here? Where's the $5 million you promised?" Marcus gritted his teeth. "I told you I'd give it to you after Vicky and I got married," Blondie sneered. "Stop pretending everyone knows CEO Sterling dumped you. Still dreaming of marrying into a rich family. I don't care. I want my $5 million, not a cent less. Otherwise, I'll go tell CEO Sterling that you hired me to kidnap her little lover and frame him. No, Victoria must never find out about this. Otherwise, he'd truly be finished." Marcus gritted his teeth. "I'll give you that villa in Riverside Gardens. It's worth more than $5 million. Just keep your mouth shut." Blondie's face immediately lit up with a smile. "That villa could sell for at least $10 million, he patted Marcus's face. "I knew Mr. Thorne was a straightforward man. Let's go. Transfer the ownership now." Just as he pushed open the stairwell door, he was suddenly punched in the face and knocked to the ground. Ouch, who doesn't want to live? Marcus saw Victoria standing at the door with a sinister expression, and he backed away in terror, trembling against the wall. "Vicky, it's not what you heard. I can explain." Victoria stepped on Blondie's hand and approached Marcus step by step, her eyes blazing with fury as she watched him tremble. This was the man who had deceived her with his clumsy acting and driven Sincere away. How could she have been so foolish as to believe this man and not Sincere, whom she had raised herself? No wonder he had left her so resolutely. She had disappointed him. She looked at the man trembling like a leaf before her, a cold arc forming on her lips. "Good news. Your father won't have to publicly apologize with his entire family. The Thorne family of Port City will disappear tonight, and you, Marcus Thorne, will live in poverty for the rest of your life, never dreaming of setting foot in high society again." Marcus collapsed to the floor. Watching Victoria's retreating back, he couldn't help but shout, "Victoria Sterling, you can't do this to me. It's not my fault, it's because you were too cowardly to face your own feelings, choosing me again and again, that you broke his heart. You were the one who drove him away." Victoria's heart began to ache violently again. She clutched her chest, gasping for breath, her eyes stinging. She knew. She was the main culprit. No matter the cost, through heaven and earth, she would find Sincere, no matter whose son he was, no matter what their relationship. In this lifetime, he could not leave her at this moment. Sincere had just finished his first simulated flight experience and was on a plane to a remote Himalayan training facility with his group of volunteers. It was everyone's first flight, and they chattered excitedly, sharing their experiences in the space simulator. The woman next to Sincere, however, was very quiet. She was tall, with a powerful aura, and sitting next to him made him feel somewhat pressured. He already had some aversion to unfamiliar women, and this type, who seemed full of aggression, made him want to keep his distance even more. The woman glanced at him coolly, then leaned back and closed her eyes to rest. He breathed a sigh of relief, turned his head to look out the window. It was raining through the clouds, and the window was covered in water droplets. Halfway through the journey, the plane suddenly jolted. Sincere gripped his seatbelt tightly in alarm. An announcement began. "Ladies and gentlemen, please pay attention. Our aircraft is currently passing through an area of unstable air currents and will experience continued turbulence. Please remain seated and fasten your seatbelts." Immediately after, the plane began to shake violently, almost throwing people out of their seats. The cabin instantly descended into panic. Sincere had never encountered such a situation before and clutched the back of the seat in front of him. He had just said goodbye to his old life. He wasn't going to die here, was he? Images of horrific plane crashes uncontrollably flashed through his mind. His brows furrowed, his heart pounded, and his breathing became rapid. In his dizziness, a slender hand pulled down an oxygen mask and placed it over his nose and mouth. "Relax. Deep breaths. Sincere, don't be nervous. It's okay." A soft, calm female voice vibrated against his eardrum, and he instinctively obeyed. A strong hand gently stroked his back up and down, gradually calming his frantic heart. A few minutes later, the plane passed through the turbulence and stabilized. Only then did Sincere realize he was practically hugging the woman, his hand still gripping her arm tightly. He quickly let go. A pair of red handprints appeared on her fair arm. He was somewhat embarrassed. "Sorry, I was too nervous." The woman chuckled softly. "It's fine." She naturally removed his mask. Sincere felt as if she had patted his head reassuringly. Then she got up to check on the others. Sincere touched his warm head, unsure if it was his imagination. As the woman made her rounds to the front, a young boy boldly asked, "Miss, are you the director of the training camp?" Many people looked over curiously. She scanned the group and said calmly, "I'd prefer you to call me instructor. My name is Willow Forrest, and I'm in charge of all your training this time. We've just had an eventful but safe start. Remember this feeling. I hope the rest of the training won't be too stimulating for you. Great, a hard-nosed instructor. We're saved. Wow, my heart is already racing. Are you sure it's not because you're captivated by the instructor's coolness? Instructor Forrest, do you have a boyfriend?" When the last question was asked, everyone quieted down, anticipating her answer. After all, Willow Forrest was strikingly attractive, with a cool and heroic demeanor, and was very popular with the male trainees. Sincere, also curious, hid in the crowd and peeked at her. Who knew her eyes seemed to have radar, instantly locking onto him. He quickly averted his gaze, pretending not to look, but secretly pricked up his ears to listen. A hint of a smile flashed in Willow's eyes. She said, "That question, I'll answer it when you graduate from the training camp." A collective sigh of disappointment. Sincere also turned his head to continue looking out the window. The rain had stopped. The sunlight above 10,000 meters was exceptionally brilliant. Someone sat down in the seat beside him. Willow looked at the back of his head, which was turned away from her, and couldn't resist reaching out to smooth a strand of hair tousled by the oxygen mask. Sincere saw the woman's movement in the reflection from the window, held his breath nervously, but by some strange impulse didn't move away. He belatedly realized that he didn't seem to be afraid of her anymore. Was it because the brief moment of reliance during the turbulence had dispelled his defenses, or was it that when she spoke he felt a hint of familiarity? Sincere Knight. His heart skipped a beat. He answered hastily. Present a soft, pleasant laugh came from above his head. He inexplicably blushed. Willow glanced out the window and told him, "It's going to be a beautiful day today." Sincere looked at the rolling sea of clouds and felt that his gloomy heart, like the sky after rain, had cleared up. When they disembarked, the notoriously fickle high-altitude weather was showing a rare, gentle side. The warm winter sun shone on the snow-capped plateau, a vast and magnificent vista unfolding before them. Unfortunately, Sincere had no time to appreciate it. Most of the volunteers were suffering from varying degrees of altitude sickness, collapsing one after another on the way to the base. Sincere also felt chest tightness, nausea, and a splitting headache. "Sincere, open your mouth." A straw was placed between his lips, and a warm hand touched his forehead. Willow instructed him, "No fever. Drink this rhodiola solution. It'll help you feel better. And this, American ginseng slices. Hold them in your mouth after you finish drinking." Sincere sipped the rhodiola oral liquid, then lifted his eyelids and saw her get up and leave. She was tall and moved somewhat awkwardly in the confines of the vehicle, but all the volunteers on board needed her attention. A young boy looked pitifully at Willow. "Instructor Forrest, I feel so awful. Can you sit next to me and comfort me a little?" Sincere silently put the ginseng slice into his mouth. "Ugh, it tastes terrible." Willow met the boy's slightly reddened eyes and placed a packet of rhodiola in his hand. "We instructors only punish, we don't comfort. Classmate Jasper Young, if you're feeling unwell, drink more of this." Jasper Young stared, reluctantly accepted the entire packet of rhodiola, and bit into it fiercely. Sincere couldn't help but chuckle. This Willow Forrest was too straightforward. So happy, not feeling unwell anymore? Willow, having completed her rounds, caught Sincere snickering as soon as she returned. He quickly shook his head, closed his eyes, and leaned back against the seat to rest. Willow smiled. As the vehicle navigated a sharp turn on the mountain road, she naturally let his head rest on her shoulder. Sincere felt a little embarrassed, but he was truly uncomfortable and didn't want to move, so he pretended to be asleep. Willow's phone vibrated. She opened it to see a message from Professor Davies. "Have you seen Sincere Knight? He's young and has been hurt by his family. You need to take extra care of him." Willow turned to look at Sincere's fluffy head, her sharp brows relaxing. She replied with one hand, "He's very well behaved. I'll take good care of him." By the time they reached the base, it was already dark. Everyone, still recovering from altitude sickness, was listless. Willow announced the wake-up time for training the next day and told them to eat quickly and rest. Sincere had no appetite at all and went straight back to the dormitory. Just as he finished tidying up and lay down, someone knocked on the door. He opened it to see Willow. "Instructor Forrest, is something wrong?" Her clear eyes gazed at him quietly. "You didn't eat?" Sincere shook his head. "Couldn't eat." She handed him a thermos and a lunchbox. "Eat something. It's especially important to replenish nutrients after altitude sickness. Training starts tomorrow. If you don't eat, your body won't keep up. I know you don't have an appetite now. This is sweet tea and rich cheese. Eat some if you get hungry tonight. It'll give you a quick energy boost." Sincere was somewhat stunned. Willow raised her hand as if instinctively wanting to pat his head, but then restrained herself, nodded at him, and left. Sincere looked at the items in his hand, thinking, didn't she say instructors don't take care of people? Just as he was about to close the door, Jasper Young suddenly appeared outside. The dormitory was a two-person room. Jasper was his roommate. He smiled at Jasper. Jasper glanced at the things in his hand, snorted coldly, and walked into the room with his head held high. Sincere sighed. He'd been marked as a rival, and it was only the first day. Such a femme fatale. He closed the door, went inside, opened the lunchbox, and placed it in front of the pouting Jasper. Want some? Instructor Forrest said we should eat it together. Jasper looked at him suspiciously. Really? Wasn't it specially delivered for you? Sincere waved his hands repeatedly. Of course not. Instructor Forrest treats everyone equally. Jasper stared at the box of cheese for a long time, then picked up a piece and took a fierce bite. He mumbled, even if it was for you, I'm not afraid I'm going to compete with you. Fairly Sincere chuckled. He had seen him swallow. He was clearly craving the cheese. Such a gluttonous boy. On the first day of training, Willow Forest promised they would adapt gradually, starting with the simplest vestibular training. Trainees had to wear blindfolds and sit in a multi-axis spinning chair, rotating 360 degrees at a speed of 2 seconds per revolution, accompanied by various movements up, down, left, right, forward, and backward to simulate the weightlessness and spatial disorientation astronauts experience in space, thereby improving their anti-vertigo capabilities. It seemed simple, and some even thought it was like a giant pendulum ride at an amusement park, eager to try. As a result, no one could last more than 30 seconds. 22 volunteers vomited 23 times. One even vomited again just watching Willow spin for 15 minutes. Everyone lost all composure from vomiting. Jasper Young couldn't even last the 2 seconds Willow took to help him down, vomiting directly onto her. Sincere, seeing Jasper's expression as if he wished he could die on the spot, felt immense sympathy. Who would want their goddess to see them in such a state? Willow, however, was calm, presumably having seen such scenes many times. When it was Sincere's turn, Willow happened to leave to take a call. He quickly climbed onto the chair and had the assistant instructor press the switch. After 25 seconds of a spinning world, he too couldn't bear the dizziness and pressed the emergency stop button. Stars exploding before his eyes, he staggered off the chair, the contents of his stomach already surging up to his throat. Before he could take a wobbly step, a sickness bag was handed to him, and mouthwash was tucked into his pocket. He buried his head in the bag and vomited everything out. A familiar hand began to stroke his back again. Sincere froze. Willow was back. An inexplicable thought arose in his mind. He didn't want to appear so pathetic in front of her. So Sincere, without lifting his head, walked to the trash can, head bowed, tied up the sickness bag like a thief, threw it in, and quickly rinsed his mouth and wiped his lips. When he turned around, Willow was already training the next volunteer. Jasper suddenly approached, looking at him mournfully. Sincere felt his scalp tingle. Well, what's wrong? I give up. What? I'm not pursuing Instructor Forrest anymore. He looked completely dejected. I didn't lose to you. I lost to my own vomit. Sincere couldn't help but chuckle. Instructor Forrest has probably seen it all. She wouldn't mind. But she minds you, huh? Jasper looked envious. She treats all of us the same. Let us fend for ourselves. But when you came out, she was the first to offer you a sickness bag and mouthwash. She knows you care about your image, so she let you be the most dignified vomiter among us. That Ice Queen noticed even such a small detail. If this isn't love, I'll live stream myself eating crap while doing a handstand. Sincere's heart trembled. You're overthinking it. Jasper looked at him sourly. I'll bet my 38 ex-girlfriends against you. She definitely likes you. Sincere's cheeks flushed red, and he quickly ran away. Jasper watched his retreating back and made a face. He had clearly been afraid of embarrassing himself in front of her too. Sincere, oh Sincere, you don't even know it yourself, but you're starting to fall for her. The days of closed training were monotonous, and the training content became more challenging to human limits each day. If they couldn't pass the assessment after 6 months of training, they would be eliminated from the deep space program. Jasper complained incessantly every day, and Sincere also struggled to adapt. His physical condition wasn't the best, and training was strenuous every day. He even stayed behind voluntarily for extra practice at night. Jasper, holding his lunchbox, ate heartily while watching Sincere practice vestibular exercises in the training room, spinning in circles. He shook his head repeatedly. With that kind of perseverance, you'll succeed at anything. Seeing Sincere's narrow waist, he looked at a loss for words again. Are you treating the deep space program like a weight loss camp? Your waist is inches thinner than when you first arrived. Sincere had just finished a short segment. He closed his eyes, waiting for the dizziness to pass, and mumbled, "Can't help it. This kind of training, if I eat, I puke. I'd rather go hungry." Jasper rolled his eyes at him and stuffed another large mouthful of food. Without sufficient nutritional supplements, training will only be half as effective. A soft female voice suddenly sounded. Jasper almost choked. Cough. Instructor Forrest. Sincere instinctively tried to stand straight, but as soon as he let go of the wall, he started to fall backward. A pair of slender yet strong arms caught him. Careful. The warmth that enveloped him made his face flush red. Jasper tapped his lunchbox and whistled at them. Willow glanced at him askance, and he took the hint and left. Sincere felt a little embarrassed. "Instructor Forrest, I can manage on my own." Just as he was about to straighten up, his scalp tightened, and he fell back onto her shoulder. A strand of his hair had caught on her zipper. "Don't rush, let me." Her delicate white hands worked meticulously, untangling the hair strand by strand. Inexplicably, Sincere thought of his mother. When he was little, his mother would wash his hair with her nimble hands, gently untangling his naturally curly hair. After his mother passed away, Victoria had washed his hair, but he had too much hair, and she was very clumsy, often hurting him. He eventually cut his hair short, keeping a crew cut for several years, only starting to grow it out in college, managed by a professional hairstylist. He had never imagined that someone else could tame his wild curly hair so perfectly. After separating the zipper in his hair, Willow looked at him standing there blankly. Her heart softened, and she asked gently, "Is there any problem with the training?" Sincere was a bit dejected. "I still can't get used to the dizziness and weightlessness." Willow smiled. "Your movements just now weren't standard. Do it again, I'll teach you." Sincere began again under her guidance. Perhaps it was the graceful figure behind him distracting him, but he really didn't feel as dizzy. By the time training ended, it was already 9:30 p.m. Sincere was about to thank her and return to the dormitory when his stomach let out a loud rumble. He embarrassedly clutched his stomach, wishing he could find a hole to crawl into. Willow didn't tease him. She beckoned to him. "I saved some supper for you. Come and eat." Sincere hesitated for a few seconds, but ultimately couldn't resist the temptation of food and followed her. Willow didn't take him to the dining hall, but to a room he had never been to before. She fiddled with something on the wall, and the ceiling above them slowly parted, revealing a vast expanse of starry sky. Sincere's jaw dropped. He was momentarily stunned. He had grown up in the city and had never seen such a boundless multitude of stars. It felt like being immersed in a river of stars with eons of time flowing around him. "It's so beautiful." Willow's lips curved upwards. She led the dazed Sincere to a chair, and the backrest automatically adjusted to a comfortable angle, allowing Sincere to gaze at the stars without craning his neck. Just as he was about to ask where this place was, a piece of beef jerky was popped into his mouth. He chewed it a few times unconsciously, and a rich aroma filled his senses. Delicious. High plateau yak beef, high in protein, helps with muscle synthesis and boosts immunity. Willow placed the jerky in his hand. "Don't skip meals for training anymore." If your weight isn't up to par, you won't be able to go on the spacecraft either. Sincere secretly looked at her profile as she gazed at the stars, a sweet feeling rising in his heart. Thank you, Instructor Forrest. Eating beef jerky under the starry sky at an altitude of 4,988 meters was truly a magical life experience. Instructor Forrest, is this room specifically for stargazing? Yes, in a while you all will come here for training too. Sincere was full and also relaxed. His curiosity about Willow naturally slipped out. Instructor Forrest, why did you join the deep space program? Does your family support you? Willow was silent for a moment, then said, My mother passed away when I was 14. Sincere was stunned and quickly said, I'm sorry, no need to apologize, it's been many years. Willow glanced at him, then looked back at the stars. At that time I had to go live with my father, who had divorced my mother many years prior, and I also changed to a new school. There I met a little boy who had also lost his mother. He told me that when people pass away, they become stars in the sky, watching over their loved ones on Earth. So I had to live well, so the stars wouldn't be sad and wouldn't fall. He also said that he wanted to be an astronaut in the future, fly a spaceship to see his mom, and he invited me to go with him. Although it was far-fetched, I was unknowingly influenced by him, and I felt that my mother hadn't left me but was watching over me in a different way. Sincere couldn't help but smile. So you came? What about him? Did he become an astronaut? Willow said gently, He will succeed. Our promise is about to be fulfilled. Sincere was already feeling sleepy. That's great. Instructor Forrest, your wishes will all come true. Willow looked at his profile and murmured, Yours too. Under Willow's guidance, Sincere's training progressed significantly. Their relationship also grew closer day by day. Willow always maintained a comfortable distance, providing him with just the right amount of care without putting any pressure on him. He unconsciously grew accustomed to her presence. Extra training together every night, and meals became a fixed routine. Jasper's late-night gossip also grew bolder. I saw Instructor Forrest's file in the base office today. She's actually Tajik. Sincere blinked. An ethnic minority? No wonder her features were more defined than most people's. Jasper poked him with a mischievous smile. I heard that women from her region are naturally blessed with great figures, all ample chests and slim waists. Sincere, have you tested that out? Sincere froze for a moment, then his face flushed crimson and he waved his hands repeatedly. What nonsense are you talking? How would I know you don't know? You often come back late at night, you think I haven't noticed? Don't tell me it's training. If you trained until midnight every day, you'd have turned into a spinning top by now. Sincere was momentarily speechless. He wanted to say it was just stargazing, but saying that seemed to confirm the ambiguity. He suddenly realized that his relationship with Willow had already become somewhat more ambiguous than just friends. No wonder Jasper was guessing wildly. But he currently had no intention of developing a romantic relationship. His last relationship had ended quite miserably. He no longer had the energy for it. If Willow really had feelings for him, he should put a stop to it in time. But the thought of distancing himself from her also made him feel a little unhappy. He frustratedly pulled the covers over his head and didn't sleep well all night. For the next few days, he declined Willow's dinner invitations. Willow seemed to understand his meaning. She said nothing and simply bid farewell after training. Without her initiative, they retreated to the most ordinary instructor-trainee relationship. Sincere breathed a sigh of relief, yet felt an emptiness in his heart. This morning, while everyone was training, the power suddenly went out, plunging the entire base into darkness. Willow organized the trainees to leave in an orderly manner, made a few calls, and then stopped Sincere as he was walking past her. The solar panels are broken. I need an assistant to go out with me to repair them. Are you in? By some strange impulse, he nodded. The broken panel was on a snowy mountain. The two of them geared up and set off, wading through knee-deep snow. Sincere had never seen so much snow and struggled to walk. Willow, without turning her head, accurately took his hand. Sincere froze. Willow pulled him straight ahead. Hurry up. The weather has been bad lately. I'm afraid the wind will pick up soon. Oh. Sincere, suppressing his racing heart, followed her up the mountain. The solar panel was suspended on a cliff. Willow put on her safety harness, slung the toolbox over her shoulder, and climbed up. Sincere watched, his heart in his throat, unconsciously tightening his grip on the safety rope. Instructor Forrest, you be careful. Willow looked up, saw his nervous expression, and smiled. Relax. Don't look at me, look behind me. Sincere looked up into the distance and was instantly stunned. Sunlight broke through the clouds, illuminating the continuous snow-capped mountains, outlining them with a golden rim. He had been in the mountains for 5 months, but this was the first time he had seen the sun-drenched golden peaks. It was breathtakingly beautiful. The most beautiful scenery is often found in the most dangerous places. Adrenaline and dopamine usually go hand in hand. Sincere, since you've come out here, don't always stare at the dangers at your feet. Look more at the scenery in the distance, so this trip won't be in vain. Sincere stared blankly at the majestic, awe-inspiring work of nature before him. His entire life he had been cautious, treading on thin ice, trapped in a world that revolved only around Victoria. That was why he had seen her as his only salvation. He thought he had moved on, but he was still habitually trapped in the present, afraid to look towards the future. In reality, his world could be vast. Everything within his sight was part of his life experience. He greedily gazed at the endless mountain ranges, the churning sea of clouds. Suddenly, his line of sight was blocked by a slender, narrow waist. The tight-fitting, quick-dry fabric outlined a graceful figure. Jasper's voice inexplicably echoed in his mind. I heard that women from her region are naturally blessed with great figures, all ample chests and slim waists. Sincere, have you tested that out? His gaze instinctively moved upwards, lingering on a certain spot. Then his face gradually turned red. What are you thinking, Sincere Knight? He was startled awake and met Willow's teasing, smiling expression. And nothing. Willow tilted her chin. Hand me the wrench. Oh. Sincere obediently acted as her assistant, silently berating himself. He needed to stay away from Jasper. By the time the solar panel was repaired, the sun was hidden behind the clouds again, and the wind had picked up on the mountain. Willow looked at the sky and urged, Let's get down the mountain quickly, the weather is changing. Sincere quickly packed the equipment and proactively took her hand. Willow froze for a moment, a hint of a smile in her eyes. The wind and snow grew stronger, and the two stumbled forward. Sincere, anxious, suddenly missed a step and plunged downwards. Willow, quick-witted and swift, grabbed him. Sincere hung precariously on the edge of an ice crevice, a bottomless chasm below him. Still shaken. Look at me, don't look down. Sincere looked at Willow's tense face, his voice trembling. Willow's heart trembled. She comforted him gently. Don't be afraid, I'm here. One sentence miraculously calmed the anxiety in Sincere's heart. It was as if, as long as she was there, all problems could be solved. Willow held her breath and pulled Sincere up, bit by bit. The ice crevice was smooth with little friction, making it very difficult to pull someone up. It took a full 10 minutes before Sincere was out of danger. He still clung to Willow's hand, too scared to let go, completely terrified. Willow patted his head. It's okay now, Sincere. He felt like crying. A few warm drops landed on his hand. He froze. No, he hadn't started crying yet. He looked down. Bright red liquid had spread across his entire palm. It was blood. Sincere's gaze followed it upwards, and he instantly panicked. Willow, your arm. During the emergency, when Willow had leaned down to save him, her arm had been impaled by an ice shard. She hadn't cared about the pain, solely focused on saving him. The harder she pulled, the deeper the ice shard dug in. By the time Sincere was pulled up, blood was streaming down her arm. So much blood. Willow, does it hurt? Did it hit an artery? Willow saw his reddened eyes, and her heart fluttered. Don't be afraid, I'm not in pain. It's cold, the blood will clot quickly. A fierce gust of wind swept past, and the snow hit their faces so hard they couldn't open their eyes. A blizzard is coming. Sincere. We need to find shelter. Willow scanned her surroundings and led Sincere to sit behind a sheltered snowdrift. Sincere wiped his face and found the safety rope to tie around her arm. But the blood kept flowing. He frantically called the base for help. Willow is injured. She's lost a lot of blood. The blizzard is too strong, we can't get out. We're at. Willow sighed and took the walkie-talkie. About 200 meters down from Divine Maiden Peak, then 80 meters west, at Snowdrift number 2. Possibly a severed artery, bleeding continuously. Yes, please hurry. After switching off the walkie-talkie, Sincere still stared at her arm with red eyes, as if looking at it could stop the bleeding. Willow hesitated for a few seconds, then gently covered his eyes with her hand. Don't look. Blizzards come and go quickly. The base personnel are experienced, they'll be here soon. Sincere's eyelashes lightly brushed her palm, as if brushing against her heart, making it tingle. She had lost too much blood. Willow started to feel dizzy and leaned weakly against the rock wall. Seeing her so weak, Sincere panicked. Willow, don't sleep. Keep your eyes open, look at me. Didn't you say the blizzard would pass quickly? Why hasn't it stopped yet? Willow, don't die. You shouldn't have saved me. Willow closed her eyes, smiled weakly, and murmured, How could I not save you? I've waited for you for so many years. Sincere choked up. What are you saying? Willow couldn't bear to hear him cry. She coaxed him to recall the past. Clearview Middle School, the rooftop during gym class, you little heartbreaker. You've forgotten everything. Clearview Middle School. Sincere's thoughts spun back 10 years, then suddenly stopped. You are Dolma? Sincere was completely stunned, unable to connect the tall, heroic woman before him with the dark, skinny girl from back then. He used to hide on the rooftop to skip gym class and would always encounter Dolma, a Tibetan girl who had transferred from a school in Tibet. Dolma didn't talk much, but their shared experience of loss made Sincere feel a natural closeness and sympathy for her. He had Victoria's love and care, which helped him step by step out of the grief of losing his mother. So he also tried his best to comfort and encourage Dolma, hoping she could live a good life. A year later, Dolma graduated from middle school, and they lost contact. She was just a passerby in his life, but she had kept him in her heart for many years. Even her college major, aerospace engineering, was influenced by him. Willow's voice gradually faded. I changed my name to a Han name, thinking I'd never see you again. Who knew in my junior year of college, you also got into my university and became my junior. I was so happy, I wanted to find you immediately. But you had forgotten me. You didn't seem passionate about space anymore. Your heart and eyes were full of another woman. She was very good to you. You were very happy. I thought that's fine too. You were living a stable life and I was happy for you. I never expected to see you again at the base, looking like you were about to shatter. I actually didn't mean anything by it. I just wanted to make you a little happier. I didn't expect any response from you. Her voice became very, very low, almost inaudible. Tears streamed down Sincere's face. He hugged her tightly, choking out, Hold on, Willow. How do you know I wouldn't give you a response? Live, Willow. I want you to live. Willow moved her fingers with difficulty, gently stroking his hair. Okay, I'll live. As soon as the blizzard stopped, the base's rescue team arrived immediately. Willow was ice cold, her face as pale as paper. Sincere wasn't sure if she was still alive. He waited outside the operating room for 3 hours before Willow was wheeled out. She's out of danger, but this arm, the muscle is torn. It will take time to recover. If it doesn't heal within a month, she won't be able to enter the space station. Sincere froze, looking at the pale woman on the hospital bed, his lips pressed tightly together. What kind of care does she need? Tell me. Willow couldn't be grounded here. She belonged to the sky. Sincere began to learn massage techniques from the doctor every day. A week later, when Willow's wound had healed, he would meticulously give her massages and rehabilitation exercises on schedule. At the appointed time, Sincere would appear in the instructor's office with his care kit. The assistant instructors would tease, "Instructor Forrest, your little nurse is here again." Sincere had gone from blushing furiously to remaining unfazed. He walked up to Willow, his face serious. "You're late, Instructor Forrest." Willow pointed to the documents in her hand. "Just a little more. I'll come find you when I'm done." Sincere raised an eyebrow at her, saying nothing. She relented, raising her hands. Okay, I'm going." The assistant instructor snickered. The fearless Iron Lady Instructor Forrest has met her match. Truly, every dog has its day. Indeed, even tempered steel bends to a gentle touch. Is our base about to host a wedding? Hearing the whispers behind her, Willow raised her eyebrows. The two of them walked into the stargazing room. Sincere skillfully lowered the chair, tore off the old plaster, applied medicinal oil, and began the massage. Willow looked at his serious expression and couldn't resist teasing him. "Classmate Sincere, my reputation has been completely ruined by you." Sincere paused, saying nothing. Willow also stopped smiling. "It was just a joke, don't mind it. I'll tell them to shut up later, Willow, let me think about it." Sincere looked up at her, his tone very serious. "Before the closed training ends, I'll give you an answer." In his heart he knew he probably had fallen for Willow. However, he didn't know if he was once again seeing Willow as a salvation, just like he had with Victoria. He didn't want to get caught in another relationship where he lost himself. He needed to sort out his thoughts properly. Willow's expression was gentle. "Okay, take your time." Neither of them spoke. After the rehabilitation session, as they came out of the stargazing room, they ran into a group of people. It was the owner of the base giving a tour to investors. One of the women saw Sincere and her face lit up with surprise. "Sincere, you're really here. I've been looking for you for so long." Sincere froze. It was Victoria. How could she be here? Victoria was slightly out of breath. The immense joy made the already thin oxygen at high altitude even scarcer. Ever since she learned Sincere had joined the deep space program, she had disregarded her family's objections and insisted on joining too. But she had angina, and her physical examination was not up to par. Later, she tried many ways to invest in the project, but the owner was too low profile. She had to ask around for a long time before finally making a connection, and only now gained the qualification to visit the base. Victoria quickly walked up to Sincere, took his hand and said excitedly, "Sincere, come back with me. I've handled everything at home. From now on it'll just be you and me. We'll live a good life together." Sincere, noticing the strange looks from others, forcefully pulled his hand away and then pushed open the door of the stargazing room. "Let's talk inside." Victoria followed him into the room. Just as the door was about to close, Willow held it open. Victoria narrowed her eyes at her. Sincere said softly, "It's okay. I'll make things clear to her." Willow looked at him for a few seconds, then said, "I'll be right outside the door." Sincere nodded and closed the door. "Who is she?" Victoria asked immediately. "Is it because of her that you won't come back?" Sincere frowned. "Victoria, I made it very clear last time. I should live my own life." Victoria stared at him blankly. "Your own life? Means a life without me?" "Sincere, you said we would be together forever." Sincere lowered his head. "Victoria, you were the one who changed first." Victoria's eyes instantly turned red. "I haven't changed, Sincere. I've thought it through. In this life, I only want to be with you. I can only be with you. No one else matters. I just got sidetracked for a while. Sincere, I'm very sorry about what happened before. It was all my fault. I've already gotten rid of Marcus. From now on, I only want you. I'll only cherish you. If you want to get married, we'll get married." She approached him, her eyes red. "I'll give you anything you want. Can you please not leave me? Victoria really can't live without you." Sincere had never seen her like this. In his memory, Victoria had always been high-spirited, free, and unrestrained. But now she had lost a lot of weight, Her face was haggard, and her expression was sorrowful. Sincere suddenly realized that this relationship had left both of them with more pain than happiness. He sighed. "Victoria, I'm the one who changed. I don't like you anymore." Victoria looked as if she had suffered a massive blow. Her eyes dulled, her cheeks twitched slightly, and she stood there, lost and devastated. "You don't like me anymore. How can you not like me? Sincere, you were the one who proposed to me. You were the one who wanted to be with me forever. I just made a mistake for a bit. How could you stop liking me?" She clutched her chest, her face pale and ashen, looking as if she might collapse at any moment. Sincere sensed something was wrong and stepped forward to support her. "Victoria, what's wrong? Is it your angina?" Victoria gripped his hand tightly, with all her strength, staring at him intently. "Sincere, you still like me, right? You're just angry, right? Please, don't be so cruel to me." Sincere tried hard to pull his hand away to call for help. Just as he turned, Victoria collapsed straight to the floor. Victoria was sent down the mountain overnight. Her physical condition did not permit her to be at high altitude. She had insisted on coming to find Sincere recklessly. Alistair Sterling was furious. "You've been fooling around for 6 months, and now you've nearly lost your life. Do you still remember you're the head of the Chin Corporation? You have the responsibilities of a Sterling. Look at what a wreck you have made of your body for a man. If you want to act recklessly, the Sterling family cannot be destroyed by you while I can still manage. You must give me an heir this year." Victoria lay in bed, dazed. Have a child? Besides Sincere, who was qualified to make her bear his child? But they couldn't have children. They were... In the middle of the night, the ward door was pushed open, and a man walked in. Old Master Quinn said, "Considering your years of unrequited love for the young lady, he's giving you one last chance. You'd better seize it." Marcus Thorne, wearing a thin shirt, approached the hospital bed step by step. In the months since the engagement was broken, he had been ridiculed by everyone, and the Thorne family's collaborations had been severed, putting them in a difficult situation. He had begged countless people to see Victoria, but was always turned away. If she hadn't made such a fuss over Sincere, and if respectable families hadn't wanted to get involved, Alistair Sterling wouldn't have given him this chance. As long as he got her pregnant, all their difficulties would be resolved. Victoria wouldn't abandon him either. Marcus silently lifted the blanket and reached to unbutton Victoria's clothes. The next second, his hand was gripped tightly and flung backward violently. The back of his head slammed against the wall. A sharp pain shot through him, and he cried out, collapsing to the floor. Victoria had already sat up, her sinister eyes fixed on him. "Didn't I tell you to get out of Port City and never appear before me again for the rest of your life?" Marcus, tears in his eyes, looked at the woman he had loved for many years, his heart aching. "Why can you be so cruel to me? I love you so much. Why can't you accept me? What kind of love potion did that little swine Sincere give you? Why can't you let him go?" "Shut up." Victoria grabbed a water glass and smashed it violently on the floor. Shards of glass cut Marcus's cheek. He looked despairingly at the enraged woman. Victoria said word by word, "He's good in every way. You're not even comparable to a single strand of his hair." Marcus lowered his head, then suddenly burst into maniacal laughter. "Isn't he just a little bastard who seduces his Aunt Victoria Sterling? You think I don't know your relationship?" Victoria froze, staring at him intently. "What did you say?" Marcus looked up, screaming hysterically. "I saw your investigation files. You two are paternal aunt and nephew. It's disgusting you don't want me, but you've been involved with your nephew for 10 years. Victoria Sterling, if people outside found out, what do you think would happen to you? What would happen to the Sterling Corporation?" Victoria clenched her fists tightly, her eyes blazing as she glared at Marcus. "I'm warning you, don't go around spouting nonsense, or I'll nonsense. Look at this." Marcus pulled out a photo from his phone and showed it to Victoria. He had photographed all of Victoria's investigation reports. which clearly showed that Sincere and Victoria's cousin, Charles Sterling, were father and son. "Don't rush. There's more." He continued to scroll, revealing screenshots of Sincere's private social media account. On this account, unknown even to Victoria, Sincere had documented all his secret crush feelings and his proposal diary. From age 15 to 22, it recorded the adolescent feelings of his entire youth. What should have been their beautiful memories had now become blackmail material in Marcus's hands. He sneered, "Marry me, or I'll expose all of this right now, Victoria Sterling. I'm a desperate man with nothing to lose." "But you have the Sterling family's century-old legacy, and the reputation of the man you love. Do you dare to gamble with me?" Victoria's body tensed like iron, wishing she could tear the crazed man before her to shreds. But she had to admit he had her cornered. The barefooted are not afraid of those who wear shoes. She had too much to consider. She had to stabilize him first. "Fine. As long as you keep your mouth shut, I'll marry you." Marcus grinned triumphantly, a look that was half cry, half laugh. "You won't trick me again this time. I want you to personally announce to the whole world that you're marrying me. The wedding should be as soon as possible. 100 times grander than the last one. I want to become the master of the Sterling house in style. Vicky, we're together after all." Victoria closed her eyes. In the darkness, Sincere's face appeared. He was hugging her neck, coaxing. Victoria can't abandon Sincere. Sincere wants to be with Victoria forever. Tears welled up in her eyes. "Yes, we'll be together forever." Overnight, all media headlines reported the marriage between the Sterling and Thorne families. The feuding, wealthy fiancés from a year ago rekindling their romance kept netizens buzzing with gossip. But Sincere paid no attention. He had finished his closed training and aboard the Deep Space One spacecraft had entered the space station. He, Willow Forrest, and a young man named Felix Cheney were the first group of this batch to be stationed there. For health reasons, they would return to Earth in 3 months to hand over to the next group. Their 3 months of weightless, floating life would be broadcast live on the ground network via satellite cameras. Although Sincere's picky eating habits had improved considerably at the base, faced with the limited food variety on the space station, his old habits inevitably resurfaced. Until one day, Willow took out a bag of strawberries during a meal. Sincere was stunned. "How are their strawberries?" Food sent to the space station underwent strict quality control, with the primary requirements being low moisture content and ease of storage. Strawberries were completely non-compliant. Willow popped one into his mouth. "Sweet?" Sincere bit into it, his mouth filling with sweetness. Willow took his hand and they floated together to the vegetable cultivation area. Sincere's eyes widened. "You actually grew strawberries among a patch of leafy greens." The bright red strawberries were particularly delightful. "Willow, you're too amazing." Sincere couldn't help but hug her tightly and give her a firm kiss. Before entering the module, he had already agreed to be with Willow. He was very sure that his feelings for Willow were completely different from his feelings for Victoria. He didn't just want to rely on her, he also wanted to take care of her. Now that their relationship was confirmed, Sincere was no longer awkward and boldly expressed his feelings. Willow was kissed until she was dazed, feeling that all her efforts for these few strawberries over this period were worth it. Netizens in the ground control live stream room flooded the screen with comments. "I knew these two had something going on. Their interaction is too sweet. This is too much. The PDA is out of this world. Someone get a director. Quick, a space romance." Story Sincere and the others couldn't see the live stream and didn't know that netizens on Earth were already shipping him and Willow as the Sincillo couple. Their interactions unconsciously became sweeter and sweeter. Willow couldn't bear to let him cut his curly hair, so she took over all his hair washing duties. Sincere couldn't stand seeing Willow turn into Robinson Crusoe, so he regularly cut her hair. Only poor Felix Cheney had to manage on his own, hilariously dubbed Gooseberry by netizens in the live stream, who collectively pitied him for being the ultimate third wheel. Work on the space station was very busy. They had to work more than 12 hours a day. Willow's arm couldn't quite take it and started to ache again. At night, just as Willow lay down in her sleep pod, Sincere squeezed in. She raised an eyebrow, looking at him lazily. "What, offering yourself up?" Sincere unceremoniously twisted her arm, making her grimace in pain. "Serves you right for being stubborn. Doesn't it hurt? Why didn't you say so?" He skillfully massaged her arm. Willow's other hand hooked around his waist to prevent him from floating away. Sincere looked up. Willow's face was inches away. Outside the window was a river of stars. Willow looked up and, in the vast universe, kissed the man she loved. Sincere. I heard your mother speaking." Sincere smiled. "What did she say?" She said, "Her son has much better taste now." Hearing her subtly jealous words, Sincere couldn't help but chuckle. "Willow, I heard your mother speaking too," she said. "Her daughter wasn't this thick-skinned before." Willow smiled. "Can't help it. Someone just likes them thick-skinned. I can only cater to his preferences." Sincere gently kissed her lips. I just like you this thick-skinned." The live stream chat exploded. "It's been half an hour. Are their lips worn out from kissing yet?" "An hour now. Have they had a baby yet?" "Wow. Did Sincere just float a leg out and Instructor Forrest pulled him back in? The tension is incredible." "Come on, kill me to add to their fun." Netizens were completely hooked. Only Victoria, pale-faced, watched Sincere's live stream on a large screen in the villa's basement home theater. Her eyes were filled with despair. "Sincere, do you really not want your Victoria anymore?" 2 months passed in a flash, and it was New Year. A New Year's Eve dinner was also prepared on the space station. Various delicacies floated around, and the trio playfully tossed dumplings to feed each other in mid-air, having a blast. While the other two were childishly having a dumpling fight, Sincere brought out a plate from under the table. Willow looked closely. It was actually a strawberry cake. Sincere smiled. "Happy birthday, Willow." Willow stared at him. You knew, her birthday happened to fall on a major holiday like New Year's Eve, so she had never celebrated it growing up. She never expected him to remember. Sincere brought the cake to her and let it float. "You grew the strawberries. I made the cake. Willow, are you happy?" Willow looked at his sparkling eyes, reached out, pulled him closer, and kissed him deeply. The cake floated in front of the live stream camera. Netizens couldn't see it clearly, but they were still excited enough to make this space cake kiss a trending topic. Their images were projected onto a giant electronic screen. Victoria crushed the wine glass in her hand. Red wine mixed with blood flowed down her hand, but she showed no reaction, masochistically staring at the deeply kissing couple on the screen. Her Sincere was now someone else's. Was it really impossible for her to win him back? Click. The door lock opened, and Marcus Thorne walked in, turning on the main lights. The bright light made Victoria's pupils contract. She said coldly, "Get out." Marcus was drunk. He looked around, then laughed and cried, "Victoria Sterling, you really are a pervert. Plastering your nephew's photos all over the basement, what do I lack compared to him? Tell me why can't you even look at me? We're married. I'm your husband. You can't treat me like this." He collapsed to the floor in despair. Victoria looked at him coldly. "If you dare come to this villa again, I'll release all those photos of yours." Marcus looked at her with hatred, then unsteadily got up and walked out. Not long after they married, Victoria had someone take photos of him fooling around outside. Now they were in a standoff, each holding leverage over the other. The more he looked at this house, the angrier he became. When Sincere left, he had cleared out everything related to himself. Victoria had actually found every single item and brought it back, even replanting the roses in the courtyard one by one with her own hands. The villa now looked exactly as it did when Sincere had lived there for 10 years. She cared too much about that man. Marcus gritted his teeth in hatred. As soon as Sincere appeared, he would have no chance of winning. Victoria was willing to give him anything, thinking about the live stream saying Sincere and his team would return to Earth next month. A venomous glint flashed in Marcus's eyes. He took out the pregnancy test report he had found in Victoria's bag and curled his lips into a faint smile. This man, Sincere Knight, could not be allowed to stay. He had to destroy him. Sincere never expected that the day he landed, he would be met with an overwhelming wave of online abuse. Marcus Thorne, holding their marriage certificate and the investigation report on Sincere's parentage, live-streamed an accusation that Sincere had interfered in his marriage and engaged in an incestuous affair by seducing his wife. A year ago, Sincere Knight ran away from home on our wedding day, and Victoria Sterling abandoned the wedding on the spot to find him. I thought their aunt-nephew bond was just deep, so I didn't blame them. I never expected Sincere at such a young age to be capable of seducing women, not even sparing his own aunt. This is his secret crush diary posted on a private account. For 7 whole years he was fantasizing about his own aunt. Victoria Sterling married me only to cover up their aunt-nephew affair, but I'm pregnant. Now I can't let my child grow up in such a dysfunctional family. I'm begging you, Sincere Knight, give me back my wife. Go find someone who is truly suitable for you in an instant. Sincere went from being the aerospace star to a pervert who seduces his aunt. Netizens relentlessly insulted him, and the base, under pressure, temporarily suspended him. Sincere stared blankly at the investigation report in Marcus's hands. So his father was a Sterling, and he and Victoria were aunt and nephew all these years. Had he been in love with his own? Sincere couldn't accept it, biting his lips until they bled. Willow cupped his face, forcing him to relax. Sincere, nothing is definitive yet. Don't rush to convict yourself, even if it's true. You're innocent. Sincere was frantic and helpless. What should I do, Willow? What should I do? Willow's heart ached for him. She cradled his head and pulled him into her embrace. Her strong heartbeat calmed him somewhat. Let's get a paternity test. Only then will we know the truth. But what if it's true? Then you can completely let go of the past. Sincere's frantic heart gradually calmed. Willow held him tightly. Don't be afraid. No matter the result, I'll be with you. That afternoon, Sincere took Willow to the Sterling villa. Inside, Marcus Thorne was making a relentless racket. Victoria Sterling, on what grounds did you cut off my family's projects? The Sterling family is mired in scandal. Now don't you want to clear your name as long as you completely cut ties with Sincere Knight and live properly with me? I'll tell the public you were deceived. Only I can help you. Victoria's eyes were bloodshot, her face filled with loathing. Drag this man out of here who dares. You're carrying my child, Victoria Sterling. I am the father of the Sterling heir. A cruel arc formed on Victoria's lips. Fool. That pregnancy test report belongs to your woman on the side. Who told you it was me you slept with on our wedding night? Marcus froze, his expression gradually turning to terror as he looked at her. Marcus, a man like you, I find disgusting even to look at. Why would I ever touch you? Besides, you were drunk yourself, actively hugging your ex and calling out my name. Truly disgusting. Marcus broke down. You're lying. You're clearly carrying my child. Victoria Sterling, how can you slander me like this? I've loved you for 15 years. 15 years. Victoria coldly called for the bodyguards. Throw him back to the Thorne family. Tell them to take him back to their hometown and not to abort that child. He loves this child so much, I want him to raise it himself. Marcus was dragged out, screaming all the way. Let go of me, I am the master of the Sterling house. I am the father of the Sterling heir. Victoria Sterling, you'll die a horrible death. Sincere watched silently, then led Willow to Victoria. When Victoria saw them, she tried to force a smile, but it looked worse than crying. Victoria, I want to do a paternity test with you. Victoria seemed not to hear, staring intently at Willow. After a long moment, she asked in a hoarse voice, Is she good to you? Sincere nodded. Very good. I like her very much. Victoria seemed to lose all her strength. That's good, that's good. She sat on the sofa, allowing Sincere to take a strand of her hair. As they were leaving, she suddenly called out to him, Sincere, you are braver than I am. When she first got the report, she wasn't without suspicion and had thought about getting a test. But she didn't dare. She was afraid that confirming it would make her even more ashamed. so she preferred to push him away while deceiving herself into keeping him in her grasp, leading to this point today. No matter the result, she had completely lost Sincere. Sincere was also afraid, so it was Willow who looked at the paternity test results for him. When he saw her smiling expression, he knew it was okay. He and Victoria were not blood-related. The great stone weighing on his heart finally lifted. He posted the test results online to clarify the situation. Simultaneously, Victoria exposed Marcus's past of frequenting bars, his explicit photos, and his misdeeds of hiring thugs for kidnapping. The online public opinion reversed dramatically. After everything settled down, Victoria had a long talk with Alistair Sterling. Only then did she learn that she was not Alistair's daughter, she was the daughter of Alistair's first love. His first love passed away from illness after giving birth to her posthumous child, and Alistair brought her back. Alistair Sterling, who had always been stern, unsmiling, and emotionally detached, had been stubborn enough to give the Sterling family fortune to his lover's child. This had also hurt his first wife and biological son, causing them to leave him and go abroad. After a long silence, Victoria decided to return the Chin Corporation to Alistair Sterling's eldest son. She thought now she could go see Sincere with a clear conscience. On her way to find Sincere, she encountered his car and quietly followed him. Sincere drove all the way to Golden Summit Monastery, got out of the car, and climbed the 1,000 steps on foot. Victoria followed him step by step. She saw him, panting, enter the monastery, remove the bracelet from his wrist and hand it to the abbot, asking him to reconsecrate and bless it. Her eyes suddenly moistened. That was the bracelet Sincere had prayed for her. He had painstakingly selected the wood, polished each bead himself, and then climbed the 1,000 steps, piously requesting the abbot's blessing to protect her for a lifetime of peace and prosperity. But she had allowed Marcus to break it. Sincere had searched on the ground all night to restring them. Now he was going to give the bracelet to someone else. His thoughts, his concerns, his love, they no longer had anything to do with her. She stood to the side, watching Sincere walk down step by step. At the bottom of the stairs, a tall man was ascending. They walked towards each other, met and left side by side. Victoria stared blankly until their figures completely disappeared. She took out a bead from her pocket. It was one Sincere hadn't found that day, left behind at home. She brought the bead to her lips and kissed it gently. Then she removed the priceless jade Buddha pendant from her neck and hung the bead on the chain. The warm wooden bead rested against her chest, comforting. This was the only thing in her life connected to Sincere. From now on, in the vast sea of life, through mountains and rivers, she would be alone.